much more can the Rohingya people endure? You're looking at drone footage and pictures of the Rohingya refugee camp in southern Bangladesh. That's a fire whipping through their homes. It broke out this weekend, burning down what little these people have left. And it's just one more cruel event visited upon them while the world and most in the media just look in another direction. The Rohingya, they've suffered from decades and decades of abuse and discrimination, and the most vicious round of the horror they continue to experience. It all began in August 2017. That is when the Myanmar military, also known as Burma military, committed genocide on the Rohingya population inside Myanmar. The Rohingya people had been living in Myanmar since at least the late 1800s, if not earlier. And despite the 100-year-plus presence in Myanmar, the Myanmar government has continuously refused to recognize the Rohingya as citizens of Myanmar. The Myanmar government has gone so far as to pass a law in 1982 expressly denying citizenship to any Rohingya, but at the same time officially recognizing 135 other ethnic groups. This law officially made the Rohingya, who had been living in Burma since the 1800s, stateless. But long before the 1982 law and since the law, Myanmar has subjected the Rohingya to continuous violence and persecution. And then in August 2017, it exploded even more. That's when the ethnic cleansing, the mass killings of the Rohingya, began. For a little background, in August 2017, some Rohingya militants attacked some police outposts in an army base. 59 of the attacking militants were killed, and 12 members of the Myanmar military were killed. The Myanmar military, though, took this attack, by some, not all, as an invitation to commit genocide on all Rohingya. That is thousands and thousands and thousands of innocent people who had nothing to do with the attack on the military outposts. But that didn't matter to the Myanmar military. They began a systematic campaign of ethnic cleansing to kill all Rohingya. The massacre was horrific, setting entire villages on fire, burning down homes with Rohingya still inside, shooting Rohingya in the back as they fled from the fires, yanking babies from Rohingya mothers' arms and throwing the infants into fires in front of the mothers. The Myanmar military also used rape as a weapon. I could go on, but you get the picture, and it is a horrifying one. And remember that promise, never again to genocide? Well, it happened again in our time. And those who managed to avoid being massacred by the military fled. About 800,000 Rohingya, adults and children, fled on foot north of Bangladesh. Once there, the Rohingya were corralled into a refugee camp where they still are. They are caged by barbed wire like animals. In fleeing to Bangladesh and to create shelters for their families and their children, the Rohingya chopped down all the vegetation in the refugee camp area to build homes. Their homes, as you can see, are very humble. Their lives are not easy. Every year, June to October is the monsoon season. The drowning monsoon causes mudslides because there is now no vegetation in the camp to hold the soil since they cut it down to put a roof over their families. Mudslides kill, of course. They mow down and drown every home in their path. Monsoons and mudslides also contaminate water, which is, of course, needed to survive. They also create a sewage crisis, leaking into their makeshift water system. That causes so many health problems, like the outbreak of diphtheria they had a few years ago. That's why Samaritan's Purse was there at the time to set up a diphtheria clinic and to care for these people. And if only all of this were the end of what the Rohingya endures. Well, now this happened, and it was inevitable, a fire, the one last weekend, and camp-wide. As noted, those homes are built from dried vegetation. They cook their meals on an open fire inside those homes. It seems like everything is rigged against the Rohingya. Of course, we can't help everyone in the world, but at least all of us knowing about the genocide that happened and condemning it is important. That makes America a lot different from many other nations. Here's Secretary of State Anthony Blinken announcing 1 year ago this was genocide and the U.S.'s condemnation of the Myanmar military.
Beyond the Holocaust, the United States has concluded that genocide was committed 7 times. Today marks the 8th, as I have determined that members of the Burmese military committed genocide and crimes against humanity against Rohingya.